All right, welcome back to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA featuring my loyal co-host Zach Noble. Be sure to give myself a follow on X or Twitter, whichever one you want to call it, at Scotty Drown. You can find Zach Noble at Zach Noble. It's right there on the screen for you, nice and easy. On this episode, we're going to obviously talk about the in-season tournament. I'm making sure I clarify that. I've been saying the play in a lot, getting confused there. It's the in-season tournament that's going on right now. So we're going to talk about last night's action between the Celtics and the Pacers and the Pelicans and the Kings. And then we're going to move into a new show segment after we talk about the in-season tournament that I'm pretty excited for here with Zach each week. But man, it's been a while. Obviously, we had Thanksgiving. Then I had the Eagles-Bills game, so that threw me off last week. So it's been about 2 weeks since we've gotten together and been able to talk some hoops, man. First of all, how are you doing? How was Thanksgiving? How have the holidays been treating you? And, how are you enjoying the NBA season so far, my man?
Life's good, man. Best start to the NBA season in almost my lifetime, I'd say. That's I've loved this in-season
That's a
tournament,
good way to
whether you
put it, man.
understand how it plays out or not, or if you're not, you just bring up your app, look at the bracket. It's fine. It's
Yeah,
all there now.
it's easy.
I don't, yeah. Who cares if you know about the tiebreakers or anything like that? At the end of the day, they're
Yeah,
playing harder, they're playing better, they care, and 500K actually means something to these guys, believe it
yeah.
or not. That makes you feel a little good as a citizen of the
A
United
normal
States of America.
a normal citizen that's making a
Yeah,
normal income
right.
on the scale.
Like people's like, oh, 500K. This isn't gonna matter for these guys, even though it'd be a huge deal for most other
Hey,
people. And
even if you're like, just an example, even if you're Damian Lillard and you've made all this money in your career, you're Giannis, right? 500K, you can take those winnings and just throw that on whatever the hell you want as far as an investment and triple that income. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can throw it into an investment that you maybe even find risky as hell, and maybe it doubles, quadruples your income, or you just lose 500K that you never really, if you feel you didn't need it in the first place. It's not going to
absolutely.
hurt your pockets that much. So, like, that's just an example of why it should matter. It's a lot of money still, even to their comparative scale. But I do agree, man. I think the in-season tournament so far has brought a nice energy to the beginning of the season. Even with like sloppy basketball play, it can be sloppy, but at least bring the energy and play and compete. And I think that's the biggest thing early on in this season. And like you said, it's not that hard to keep up with, especially at this point, because what, there's 4 teams that played last night, 4 teams that play tonight. After tonight, there will only be 4 teams left. Thursday, 2 teams left. Saturday, it's over. Boom, you get through the in-season tournament. People get their money, and we're moving on with the rest of the regular season, right before the Christmas break. So it gets the season kicked off with a bang, and like you said, we're seeing some really, really competitive basketball. And I think the good thing about this NBA season as well, along with the in-season tournament, is that we're kind of seeing some new teams get into the elite status of the NBA. I don't want to use that word too loosely here, but getting up into the top of the standings in their respective conferences, like the Magic, like the Oklahoma City Thunder that we haven't seen there in a while. So I think that's making it fun as well. But let's take a look at the action from last night just to get started here. We had the Celtics visiting the Pacers. Celtics come away with a 10-point loss on the road against the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton, man, 26, 10, and 13, his first career triple-double. Found that hard to believe that was his first career triple-double
It's the
when they said
rebounds,
that
man.
last night. The rebounds, right?
Yeah.
I kind of thought maybe he would have gotten that before, but obviously not. He ends up getting it last night against the Boston Celtics, arguably the best team in the NBA as of right now. And when you look at this game, let me just ask you any quick takeaways just off the top of your head from this game and what you watched last night.
Yeah, I mean, the environment was incredible. It was a full-on playoff atmosphere in there. They wanted to get to
Indiana, man.
Vegas. You could tell it was electric. Halliburton's parents were front row,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
going nuts the whole time. Yeah, he's one of those dads. He's
Yeah,
a real one for sure.
I love that,
Uh,
man. I
it
do.
was cool to see, but uh, no. Celtics came out competing from the front. I mean,
Yeah.
they had two great quarters. Mind you, they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. That's a big loss
Right.
for them. And basically, Indiana's fully staffed. But it was just a solid game. Both teams played like they're like peaking right now. They're fully
Yeah.
polished. I mean, outside of the young talent and the Celtics bench needs a lot of growth. It's everything you'd expect from these two teams. And Halliburton had them in the game with, 2 minutes to go, and then they went on that 9-0 run. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just as good as you'd expect these two
It was
teams to
electric.
play. I mean, I honestly, it's hard to nitpick these teams. I mean, the Celtics didn't shoot the three ball very well. The Pacers shot 48% from three. I mean, if you're gonna have a glaring takeaway, it's that and getting to the free throw line for the Pacers.
Yeah.
What separated things. The Celtics, I mean, dominated the boards, but didn't lead to anything. Um, they were a little sloppy. Okay, I mean, the Pacers, you can tell. I mean, what Tyrese Halliburton running the show. I mean,
A little more
he's
organized.
not going to turn the ball over much.
Yeah.
They got a lot of ball handlers out there, Matherin, Buddy Hield, Nemhard, you name it. But like Drew Holiday, things are going to be sloppy for the Celtics, and that's what's going to keep
Yeah.
other teams in there. Like that's just who they are. I don't think that's ever going to improve.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you.
they're
Like,
going to be a turnover team.
is this like a big deal for Boston to lose this game? Like, obviously, in the grand scheme, it's an in-season tournament, it's a regular season loss. Like, it's not a big deal from that standpoint, but a big deal from the standpoint of you're in another pressure tight situation in a moment where you're asking your stars to be clutch, come up with big moments, big buckets, whatever the case
Yep.
may be, big stops, and they just come up short. And not from a Sixers fan perspective, obviously, I can't talk shit on the Celtics in the big moment. I'm not sitting here calling them choke artists. But is that a thing where the pressure builds up too much, or is it just that the Pacers are a really good team, man? Like at the
What
end
do you
of the
know?
day, like
Jason
how
Tatum misses
dangerous?
another big three.
Yeah,
No.
exactly, man.
I mean, it all matters. They cared. They were trying hard.
They
Drew
were
Holiday.
trying, right?
Drew Holiday had another brain fart towards the end. I mean, it's
Let
it's
me
what
ask you
these
this
guys
too.
have done. It's adding up.
How the hell does Al Horford come out and just ball out against Joel Embiid
Big
every
moments,
single
man. He
time he
saves it.
plays?
He saves it. Big moments,
But
baby.
against
Al
this team,
Horford.
against the Pacers, they run him off the floor, man. I know it's matchups based, though.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. So when you
Well,
look at
Embiid's
this
slow,
Pacers,
bro. Embiid's slow. I mean,
yeah, that's the difference, right? The Pacers get up and down the court. They're going to score a lot of points, and so Al Horford's got to keep up in that instance. When you look at the Pacers, like how big is this experience in the in-season tournament for them with a crowd like that? The fans getting involved, Halliburton's parents in the front seats. Like that's just a preview of what it would look like once they make the playoffs. So, how big is this experience for them, and how dangerous do you view the Indiana Pacers because they just kind of seem to keep winning games as long as Halliburton's healthy?
the funny thing is they're 5-0 in the in-season tournament, and they're only
Yeah.
11-8 on the year. So they've lost a lot of games. Like, here's the thing. Then that's what gets me is like they're not showing up every night when it's just a
When it
normal game and
matters.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything. Which
Yeah.
that's fine. They're peaking. Like they're looking as good as I think they can look, and against great teams. But like it is concerning for the long run. Like I've always said, this in-season tournament only means something to me is if, say, the Pacers go on to win it. Okay,
Yeah.
they have to like. To me, I'm only gonna count it as like for all-time history stuff, as if the Pacers end up having a
Win
good
it.
year too, and it
Yeah.
was a good team winning it from the beginning. So it wasn't just fool's gold at the beginning of the year because they were healthy, and other teams weren't playing hard or not polished. Because I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
these teams with a lot of talent, like the Clippers and the Celtics and the Lakers, even
They're gonna come around and play
it
a lot better
takes time,
basketball.
and they don't
Yeah.
peak till the end of the year. Where I mean, the Pacers know their roles. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, they got some young guys that can develop a lot, but everything's very defined here.
Yeah. How much better are they
Not
going to
much has
get
yeah,
this season?
not
I
much
do
has
see your
changed from
point.
last year. It's just
Yeah.
players have taken leaps and they've gotten a little more talent, you can say.
You know what I do? Well, totally off topic. What I do like for the Boston Celtics, Sam Hauser, man, he's become a lights out guy for them, a rotational guy. They just always seem to find these diamonds in the rough when it comes to role players, man, and
They're
turn them
missing
into lights out
Muscala, man. They're
KCP.
missing Muscala. They could use that.
Spread the floor. Luke Cornett getting a lot of playing time for them as well, man. They got an interesting thing going on there with their bench. One last question regarding
Terrible,
just this
terrible
game in
bench.
general. um, Tyrese Halliburton, where does he rank for you right now amongst guards? I know we talked about this several times to start the season, but after seeing him so far this season, don't want to overreact, but where do you view him right now?
Yeah, I mean, Pacers fans are rushing to call him a superstar, but to me, like, sure, the in-season tournament, he's 28, 5, 13 assists per game,
Yeah,
51, 46, 88, 5-0. That's a superstar performance in 5 games, but it's the other
5 games. Yeah,
14 games that he's played this year, and they're 11-8. Like, to me, superstar, if he finishes in the 6th seed this year with those type of numbers, yeah, I mean, we're getting
you could say
close to being
getting
there.
close to it.
But I don't anoint players too quickly. Like, I'm not trying to throw out hot takes and be ahead of the curve. I would rather
Yeah,
call it as it is and just narrate it and be right along the way because sure, he's becoming one. He's taking the steps, right? Like, I would love to say Anthony Edwards is one too, but no, right? When you say that, he takes um, a couple steps backwards and he goes from averaging 30 to 26, and who knows, it could end up at 23 or 24 and
yeah,
um, being the number 2 guy on the Timberwolves because Cat's dominating. But um, it's a process, and it's kind of like Luca's rookie year, for instance.
yeah.
I mean, they rushed things so quickly, and it's like he was not that like he was great for a rookie. He's great
For a
for a rookie,
rookie on that
but
scale.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, he hasn't been a superstar till his like 3rd year in the league when he made
yeah,
the conference finals and put on the map. Like, there's only a couple superstars in the league,
yeah.
and Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, he's not there yet, but I think he's on pace to. I just don't know if he has the
Why we have to
team and then the
why we have
defense
to
because
jump
he's
the
still
gun on
terrible
that.
on defense. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Why we have
let's
to
just enjoy it.
I
It's
think that's a great statement, and it brings me back to something I saw on Twitter. I believe you follow it. It's a Sixers based account, but it's Ball podcast.
yep.
They talk all. He talks all. It's Trill Bro, dude. He talks all NBA, but focuses in on the Sixers a lot. But he mentioned the other day, like a conversation he was having with a buddy about how we're basically like recycling conversations about young guards constantly. Like you get a guard up to a certain point, like a Darius Garland or something, right? Puts up great numbers. We anoint him as a superstar. And then it gets to the part of the cycle where, oh, he's posting empty stats. His stats don't compute to winning big games. And then you move on to the next young guard, say Tyrese Maxey, right? And then he goes through the cycle and he goes through his failures, then gets dropped down a level from the superstar status. It's like, we jump the gun, then we jump the gun on removing them as well, and then we move on to jump the gun for the next guy in the
Yeah,
cycle. And it's kind of just like a broken cycle right now with analyzing basketball and just hot take artists in this
right,
day and age. It's like we you just got to be patient, man. And
right.
I don't get me wrong, I'm sitting here preaching it, but like I fall into it all the time as well. It's hard not to. So I think that
No,
was a great point, just thinking about not only Tyrese Halliburton, but all of the young guards that are approaching not superstar, but star status in the
right.
NBA. Looking at the late game here, the Western Conference game, you had the New Orleans Pelicans visiting the Sacramento Kings. Pelicans come away with a 10-point road victory against the Kings, 127-117. The interesting thing for me in this game, I'll throw this to you. Zion Williamson, only 10 points in this game, right? 6 rebounds, 6 assists, only 8 shot attempts, played 28 minutes. only 3 fouls in the game, so it's not like he was in, foul trouble throughout the entire game. But he ends up playing the 6th most minutes out of all the players on the Pelicans roster in that game, out of the Pelicans rotation. So 4 starters got more minutes than Zion, and then also Trey Murphy III got more minutes than Zion. I'm interested to find out, like, is that going to be a trend? Like, obviously, there's been talk about Zion's role. There's been talk from Zion about him, like, having to adjust to the way the team is playing and his role within the team. Is that like a strategy that the Pelicans kind of have to move forward with, given Zion's injury history or lack of playing in the regular season or at all? When you see that, like, what speaks to you when you see a trend like that or something like that happens in the game? Is that just matchup based? Am I making too big of a deal of that?
I liked how they treated things. I just didn't like how they integrated Zion last night, and that's going to take time with CJ and Trey back. And um, I've never liked the Pelicans as a cohesive unit. I just
Yeah,
like their individual pieces,
that's
and
fair.
it's been okay at times to watch. But like, they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of great players, and it's clunky. But it's like, I mean, you throw teams like the Timberwolves or the Celtics in there, and it's
Yeah,
um, just guys knowing how to play off each other, but not together. If you know what I'm saying.
I
Um,
do. Yeah, I
they know
do.
what the
I
other
get what you're
person's gonna do. They
getting
know
there.
their role, but they don't know how to make it look good and flow consistently through each other.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're gonna see like somebody lacking every night. It's like last night was Zion. The next night it could be Ingram. The
yeah.
next night, like
Okay,
Herb
I
Jones
see.
went
I see
went off
exactly what
last
you're
night.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean they were pushing the ball very well last night. I mean it's whoever's out there in transition, whoever um, is getting the open look. But like they're a team built for depth. I think. I
they're
think that's
about
how they're.
11. I was looking at the game last night. I've been, obviously I follow the Pelicans slightly close. It's like kind of like
Yeah, I
my
was
Western
Zion.
Conference team, weirdly enough. But nonetheless, I followed them, and it feels like they're about 11 deep, man, of guys that they could throw in the rotation. Like they played 10 last night, I believe, and you had Hawkins get no PT, right? And that's a guy that's kind of been lighting it up for them to start the season with guys like CJ and Trey Murphy out. Um,
To
so
me,
yeah, I do
he's
look at
my
them
guy, and I didn't even
pretty,
notice. I
pretty
didn't even
deep
notice
team.
it, to be honest. I wasn't looking for it or paid
Isn't
attention
that
because I was
weird
just so.
though?
So it was terrible because he's been
Yeah,
so good. But like Trey's back. Here's the thing: they need him. He's great. Like he's better than Alvarado. Like he's
right.
literally their 6th or 7th best player already. The thing is, it's like roles are so important on this team because you're not getting
Yeah,
defense from CJ, much from Zion. Bi's average to a little above at times. Um, Jordan Hawkins, I mean, he's gonna get weeded out by when Trey Murphy and Herb are nailing shots because they both play great defense too.
yeah, yeah.
So that's
I see
that's
what you're saying.
tricky. That's
Yeah,
tricky. That's
Herbert
why,
shooting
like,
3 for 5 from three last night.
yeah, I mean, they need eight deep. Like, he could be the 8th man and be the microwave for him.
Yeah,
Um, you can't not play the guy though. Like, that's just gonna hurt his ego and
yeah.
the groove he's in. So that was super interesting. That's a great point. I just kind of flew under my
For
radar
a guy
because I watched that game pretty closely.
they've been leaning on him a lot early on in the season. Like you said, like Trey Murphy's
Oh, he's
back,
been
Jose
fantastic.
Alvarado's back. Yeah, he's been playing great. So I get it. Like I get it, but I don't get it. If that makes it. Like I feel like you just have to find some bit of minutes there for him to keep him in the rotation. Like I don't know how you do it if you
Oh,
remove
I mean, over
Alvarado,
Dyson
like
Daniels all day.
Dyson Daniels. Yeah, you could definitely take
Najee
him out of the
Marshall, even.
rotation.
It's like
Yeah, yeah.
I
I love that, man. I would give honestly
all of
give
his
those
their minutes.
15 minutes to Hawkins. Why not?
That's 19 right there if you take out
Yeah.
Najee and Dyson. And I
If
get
you want to
Dyson
cap him
still
though,
young
cap
and
him at 15, right? Like
right.
give him 15 if you don't want to give him any more than that. But I just feel like every team can use that shooting and that ability that he presents. It was interesting. One more
The
question
over
regarding this game.
21 Ingram points was cake. That was the bet.
30, yeah, he had 30 last night. Fox also finished with 30 on 10 for 25, shooting 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. Sabonis with a triple double in this game, so he played pretty well. Malik Monk off the bench played pretty well for the Kings. When you look at these two teams specifically, the Kings and the Pelicans, I look at them kind of in similar buckets as far as in the Western Conference. Who are you higher on right now between those two teams as far as where they could finish in the Western Conference?
I'm much higher on the Pelicans. I mean, mainly for the defense because the Kings have the
Yeah,
worst defense in the league, arguably, outside of the teams that are relevant in Detroit and Washington, of course. But
yeah,
um, I just don't see them doing anything in the playoffs because of that defense. I'm
yeah.
so out on the Kings as a playoff team, but there's a move to be made. I mean, they can definitely make a move. Uh, it's just
What would help them?
they a defense, a three
Like
and
a
D
defensive
or
center,
D.
or like what do you think? Like a wing defender?
Let's see. I mean, both of those things.
Right,
Clint
literally.
Capella would help. I mean, yeah, Clint Capella type.
Clint
Who's
Capella's
in
interesting.
Charlotte? Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, nah, Pascal Siakam. OG Anunoby would be fantastic. He'd help big time
absolutely.
there. That would be
They could
dreamy.
put
I mean,
together a
Jeremy
package for
Grant.
him.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant from Portland would be great coming up. I think he would fit nicely. Big upgrade over Harrison Barnes to me defensively. Um,
Is that one of those things where you would maybe, and I know that, tell me if I'm being crazy here, but is it one of those things where you would maybe be willing to part ways with like a Keegan Murray to get a defensive type of wing back?
yeah, Keegan's not seeing the growth. I need to hang on to him, and he's
Yeah,
getting all the looks. I mean, he's not bad, but um, he's definitely taken a step back from last year. I mean, he's down to 30% from three.
yeah,
Uh,
30% agree.
Attempts are still there and whatnot, but um, yeah, it's not great from Keegan, but that's just could be a slow start. He's had some good games, 4 for 8 last night. Um, just yeah,
Do you,
just having a tough time stroking, and I don't think he's a game changer on defense, anyways.
right? Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. You could exchange shooting for defense, but he's not even shooting the ball that great this season. What about Malik Monk? Is he like an immovable object for them being the sixth man?
I love the chemistry he has with Fox. I think he's a great low cost piece. I mean, the only two people I'd for sure keep are Fox and Sabonis.
Fox and
Um,
Sabonis, the
Monk is, I
foundation.
mean, if you're trading him to like a good team where they need a scorer,
Yeah.
Monk's definitely disposable for sure. Um,
I mean,
the
the reason I bring
Timberwolves, like I love me some Lake Monk. It's just who do you want?
I would love
Kyle
the
Anderson?
Sixers. I would love the Sixers to go out and try to get a Malik Monk, man, a second ball handler in the second unit. So that's why I bring that up. We have,
Come get
a couple
Shake. Come
different
take
guys.
Shake Milton off our hands.
Yeah. Hey, man, we could actually,
Take him.
like, you say that hilariously, jokingly, and I'll tell you this: we could use Shake right now.
So
We
I
could
think
use that ball handler. Yeah,
Terrence Mann would even do some work for the Sacramento Kings. Like
that's not a
Terrence
bad
Mann,
idea at all.
even
Yeah,
though even though the Clippers, I mean, they need better defense than Mann, and Mann's like a decent connecting piece, but like
yeah.
it's
What would
just
they
the
want
Kings don't.
from
Yeah, the Kings have
McCain?
nobody like unless
Yeah,
they're sending like a big guy back or some pick so they can turn around and trade again. So that's tough.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm with you though. Obviously, the Pelicans rely a lot on health. I think as far as their potential this season and where they could go as far as ceiling and peaking. Obviously Zion's health, that's a big part of it, but also Zion just figuring out his true identity within this roster. And I think across the board, like you said, all of the guys figuring out their legitimate roles night to night, because it's like you can't have a night where you're leaving this guy out and this guy goes off, and it just goes back and forth like that all season. Got to build some consistency there. So I do like the Pelicans more long term compared to the Sacramento Kings. There's part of me, man, like even without Zion, I think this Pelicans team has a lot of talent. It just makes you wonder, like, if you traded Zion for multiple players, like what does that team really look like if in that case? Like it's just a better fitting piece, but it's worth seeing what Zion can do once he, plays more consistently, stays on the court.
I mean,
We
I'd
talked
say
a
for sure the last thing I'll
but
say about the Pelicans is it's Ingram, Herb Jones, Jordan Hawkins, and Trey Murphy. Those are the four guys like that have upside that you can build around. And
yeah,
then Jonas, Zion, and CJ. I mean, you can figure that out. Maybe upgrade and
yeah,
pretty hefty there. I mean,
yeah. Like CJ McCollum, it's interesting because like maybe you don't want to move him because of his veteran experience and his leadership, but
it's
you move
important,
him
and
for like a better, like maybe him and Valanciunas for a better center or something, like a better fitting centerpiece there. And maybe you move move Hawkins into that role, right? Like there's minutes there, but do you want to go from a veteran in your rotation to a rookie? That would be another question they would have to ask themselves. It's interesting though. They got a lot of options there, nonetheless. We talked about the play-in tournament, kind of the effect on the league so far, and especially the start of the season. Obviously, I would say you think it's good for the league as well as myself. I said even before it started, I thought anything that can try to drive up competition level at the beginning of the season is going to be good for the league. And I feel like this has kind of hit the mark there. Is there any suggestions that come to mind for you on how they could make the play-in tournament a little bit better? If not, if
great.
you think it's fine, if you just want to see how it plays out, totally understandable, totally acceptable answer. But is there anything that sticks out to you as far as what could improve?
Great question. Definitely something that needs to be thought of. Off the top of the head, I wasn't really thinking of that. So I
Yeah,
would say keeping the games intertwined, like all in order, not this is
not
a regular
Tuesday,
season game. This
Friday.
is,
Yeah,
in
I
between
agree.
games.
I
Like,
agree.
yeah, just 5 games in a row that are all for the play in tournament that, players can be locked in,
Yeah,
resting aside, all of that bullshit.
I like that. I like
That's
that
my suggestion. Other
because
than
that
that,
was that
um,
was like my big thing. Just thinking Sixers specifically here. A couple of their matchups on a Tuesday was followed by another big matchup that Wednesday that was out of the in-season tournament. You know what I mean? So like you have a back-to-back, and then it's like this is such a nuance of an in-season tournament that if you're a head coach, you have to decide which game matters to you more. And it's like the in-season tournament, I guess, should. But if I don't know, like it was just kind of with
these dudes
that
just
game
got to be stop being
that's
so
outside of the
soft and play.
tournament. Yeah, I agree with that as
Quit
well.
resting.
Uh, quit rambling. I hear you. I hear you. I think it would be better if they were all in order in a row, and you just like segment a month that goes to the play-in
Yeah.
tournament holistically.
Yep.
But
Kind of like the
looking at
Olympics. I mean,
yeah,
like an Olympic
exactly.
time frame.
Exactly. But I think they're going more with like the soccer type of situation where,
Right.
like English Premier League, you play your English Premier League games and then you go to Champions League on this random Wednesday once out of the month, right? So they're
Oh,
kind of
I
following
didn't
that
know that.
that model a little bit. But looking at the rest of this tournament, obviously we got some matchups tonight: the Lakers and the Suns. We got the New York Knicks at the Milwaukee Bucks. Seems like the Lakers and the Bucks have taken this tournament fairly serious. Both teams undefeated so far. Pelicans will play the winner of the Lakers and Suns on Thursday. Pacers will play the winner of the New York Knicks and Bucks on Thursday as well. So I just wanted to get some quick predictions from you regarding the action tonight, and then so on and so forth into the in-season tournament. If you have a team that you specifically think might win this thing on Saturday. So Lakers and Suns tonight. I know we already made our picks on the side, so I kind of know where you stand on at least one of the games. But starting with the New York Knicks, the Bucks, both teams I imagine will come out compete just like we saw last night. Who do you think is going to come away with this win?
I think both games are going to be tough because the Knicks are more polished than the Bucks, but the Bucks are just a better team. I'm predicting like the Bucks and the Suns, but honestly, any team can win this right now. One and done. I mean, whoever shot's falling really.
Fair enough.
But nobody's missing. I mean, the Suns, yeah, they're still missing Beal. That's a big one. Other than that, like, again, it comes back to the same as the Pacers for the Knicks, is if they're going to win this tournament, I want them to have a great year following, so then this means something to me. But I think it will. I don't see any way this won't propel a team to give them these clutch time situations and something that means something.
Confidence.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm still picking the Suns versus the Bucks in the finals, and right now I'd probably go with the Bucks to win it. I just think they're getting better. That's where I'm at. What about you?
Yeah, so I actually I agree on tonight's matchups. I picked the Bucks in the early matchup. And I do think the Suns win outright, not just cover against the Lakers. I think they're going to win that game tonight. Prediction wise, going forward, I did go with a Pelicans versus Bucks championship on Saturday, in-season tournament championship. And I think that would actually be a hell of a matchup as long as the Pelicans have all their players. But the reason I went with that is ultimately I do think a tournament like this could mean a little bit more to, say, the Pelicans than maybe their competition. They are a deeper team than a lot of the teams left in this tournament. So even if, say a guy can't go one night, they have options to fill that hole and kind of get by. So I do like their chances in this tournament. And it's a chance for them to prove themselves, right? Like, you go out, you win something. Like you said, it won't mean nothing if you don't do anything in the playoffs, or at least make the playoffs, for God's sake. But winning this tournament, like you said as well, you can build confidence and kind of build some steam, some momentum going forward. And I think
hang a banner. Hang a banner.
So, I don't know if you can go. Will they hang a banner? Like, I'm curious.
Should. Absolutely.
You should, man. You're champions.
Absolutely. Like, unless you're the Celtics or the Lakers, you hang a damn banner.
Fair enough. The Celtics and the Lakers are exempt, but I do think you are champions. It will be corny probably the first year or two that you see banners go up for that. But after a while, it will build it will build some meaning within the league. So I do like what you said there. Hang the banner.
Hey,
man.
We got players that love the in-season tournament that take it seriously. Come play for us.
Yeah, heck, we got to win that thing next year. The regular season players are loving this. But
to be honest, though, like a team that's injury prone, like the New Orleans Pelicans, are relying on Zion so much. I mean, this might be the best we ever see them play. Is these games right here? So let's embrace it. Let's see how they peak.
I truly believe
Phoenix
that as
Suns,
well, man.
Kevin Durant, like, who knows if he can be healthy come that time? LeBron, what has he got left? Like, is he gonna? He might be able to make it through a fourth quarter in this tournament.
It seems like the Lakers, the only games they are taking seriously are the in-season tournament games. So they obviously want to win that thing by the looks of the games. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out. It makes the league fun. This week is actually kind of exciting. Just having 2 games a night, I think, is kind of cool, just so everybody can focus in on those 2 games. So yeah, it's been fun to say the least. But I want to try this new segment that we're going to do every week going forward here with Zach. And it's supposed to be fun. And each week we're gonna basically pick a team or a player to kind of turn up the volume on and shine a little bit of a spotlight on that said team, on that said player every week. So we're gonna start that today to end the show here. I'll throw it to you first. I told you mine earlier just so we didn't have anything kind of the same here, at least. But looking at your team that you want to kind of put the spotlight on today and turn the volume up on, what team would you want to go with for the last week, my man?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, just blowing two
Mm,
massive losses, and we might see in the kingdom fall right before our eyes here.
interesting.
And to the Kings and Clippers, I mean, two good teams that like they were playing good for early in the game, and they just couldn't hang on. And 20-point losses to both of them. I mean, they had
Yeah.
20-point leads that they
Yeah.
blew in the second half, and to me, I mean, I've been banging this drum for a couple weeks now. Steph Curry's kind of like in that LeBron mode where he's not playing within the system, within the team confines, and he wants to make it look like he's still good and
Yeah.
playing good. So he's out chasing his stats and not worrying about everybody else and getting
Getting
them
everybody
involved. So
involved.
he's taking some really
Yeah.
bad shots, and which is crazy to say for Steph. Um,
Because Wood is
like,
a bad shot
yeah,
for Steph,
exactly,
but yeah.
exactly. But it's just like he's made some terrible decisions too, turnover wise, and just not looking at Clay and Wiggins, and um, it's he's got to take more responsibility for this team. It's like the year
Yeah.
he missed the play-in without, I think it was either without Clay that year or it was either without Clay or Wiggins. But
Yeah. I think it
um,
was without Clay. Might have been one of the years Clay tore his ACL or something.
Yeah, and it just wasn't playing within the team, and just it was the Steph show. And it's not he's
Yeah.
not a guy that, I mean, he makes people better by his movement, and he's just not moving as much either. I'd like
Yeah.
to look at his miles traveled this year compared to years past, but I'm actually genuinely worried about these guys. I mean,
Yeah.
they got a like absurd Draymond game against the Clippers this last go around, one of his best shooting performances ever, and they still lost.
Interesting. Interesting. Because I was gonna say I was following that game closely because I did lay Warriors money line in that game. So
Nice.
I was watching that game. So you talk about that blown 20-point lead. I had a cash out option at halftime with them up any amount of that credit there.
You know, he's trying to get a little kinky with Dario Saric. I'm not
Yeah.
liking how he's using him. Outside of that, I mean,
What else can
Moody
he
and
do?
Kuminga still aren't consistent. Um, he's Yeah, I mean, he's not as bad as people say, but I mean, he hasn't been great. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Pods is Pods is their big hope. He's been fantastic. Draymond's having one of his best years ever. It looks like he's trying to get another big contract. Actually, no, I think he just signed one. Uh,
Draymond.
but
Yeah.
he's literally I mean, highest field goal percentage and third highest of his career. Okay,
Yeah.
most points per game since 17, so 6, 7 years now. Um, Highest 3-point percentage of his career off decent attempts too. He's at 47%. Uh, he had to have worked on it. Rebounding's down, assists are down, but I mean, there's more ball handlers on this team now.
Yeah.
They've been expanding that. Chris Paul, that's a huge part of this. And Chris Paul hasn't been bad, but I mean,
Yeah. I was
just
gonna
not
ask if
necessarily the
you
guy.
think that
Like,
could that injury to Chris Paul maybe be a good thing for them to where they could find something else elsewhere on their bench?
yeah, I think it's more good than bad. They still lose these games with Chris Paul. I
Right. Right.
definitely think that. Um, I'm tr- I've been saying this for far too long, though. I'd be trying to sell high on Wiggins and Clay.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Clay
if
does not look good at all, man.
I don't even know if
I,
there is a high anymore, but this is as high as they're gonna be in a while. I'd say I think they're only going backwards.
yeah.
Um, make it Steph, Draymond pods, and then try to go get others, man. Get rid of that
Yeah.
draft capital. I mean,
What do
I
you
never
have that
thought we'd
for?
see this Draymond Green. I honestly didn't.
Yeah.
Will it continue? I don't know. I could see him regressing right back down to 30% real soon, but um, you got to roll with it. You got to try it out.
Yeah.
And I think if this is who he is, if he's going to become a knockdown shooter when you need him and nobody else is doing anything, you can play small. You can really
Yeah.
play small. Moody and Kuminga are fine pieces, but and so I'd get creative and go get your Siakam or your Anunoby or your Jeremy Grant or
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
whoever. But you need more talent.
They
You need,
need some juice.
you
Yeah.
need some defense. Chris
Cuz
Paul is
like
a huge salary.
I I think the big thing for them is like after Steph Curry now, who is their number 2?
It's up for grabs every night. But
Yeah, exactly. That I
it
think that's the
sucks.
problem.
It sucks, and that is a problem. Yeah, you definitely need somebody else to rely on. But I mean, it's also their depth is
Steph.
fine. They're just not
Yeah.
like
Steph's got to
elevating
get other
anybody
guys
or
involved too.
yeah, and it's Steph's not doing any favor. Like Steve Kerr is finally trying to play these dudes,
Yeah,
and I think it's more on Steph and how he's playing versus Steve Kerr. That's all I'm saying. And
fair
Steph's
enough.
my favorite man. I love Steph. Like
Yeah, so no
so,
bias there. No hate towards Steph. He's just not
I
playing
I
his
hate
best
saying it,
ball.
but it's just
Yeah.
like
No, I do feel you. I think you look at the Warriors. I think that's a great call out because that is a team. At some point, they're going to hit that cliff, man, and it's going to be hard to believe, regardless of whenever that time comes, even if it is now. So, I think that was a great call out. I'll go in a different direction. I'll go in a more positive light, and I'll bring up the Orlando Magic right now and put the spotlight on them. They're the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference right now at 14-6. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They had won 9 straight before their last loss to Brooklyn. I believe that was on Saturday. They lost. They have the 3rd best opponents' points per game in the Eastern Conference. So that is kind of their calling card based on just looking at the numbers of this team defense. You look at Franz Wagner. He's had a great start to the season, 20 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists per game. Paulo, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists per game. They got 6 players averaging double digits right now on the team. Anthony Black has been highly regarded by a lot recently, just given his insertion into the rotation and what he's been able to bring. And they've had big wins in November against the Denver Nuggets with Jokic right out there on the court, the Boston Celtics with Tatum and Brown, the LA Lakers with AD and LeBron, and the Milwaukee Bucks. No Dame, but they did have Giannis that night. So big wins nonetheless against elite teams across the NBA. How sustainable is this in your eyes when you look at the Orlando Magic and their early success so far?
so. I've always been probably one of the detractors of the Orlando Magic. I believe in the players they have and the talent that they can be a playoff team. I actually had them in the playoffs before the year.
Yeah,
The only thing I really questioned is their point guard, but I said because of
yeah,
Paulo, because of Franz, like because of Wendell Carter Jr., like they don't need a great point guard. They can
yeah,
have just solid ball handlers, and uh, having that many ball handlers all around and guys that I'm comfortable with distributing and um, being an engine as well, like it's fine. It can work absolutely. It's look at the Denver Nuggets, but yeah, you have Jamal Murray, so it's a little different.
yeah,
Look
yeah,
at, I mean, look at Philadelphia this year. I mean,
yeah.
Tyrese Maxey, yes, it matters, but no matter what his statistics say from a passing standpoint,
Not the
it's
greatest
Jo-
playmaker.
no,
Yeah,
I don't think his playmaking passing is that improved like his numbers would suggest.
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
easy when
it's
you can
just
give it to Joel for a mid-range assist.
yeah, but there's more talent on the team too, and Nick
Yeah,
Nurse has got the ball movement, and mainly Joel Embiid's not hanging on to it as long.
yeah,
And that's what I love to see. But yeah, it's definitely improving as his confidence grows and whatnot. Uh, but I mean, it's more so Orlando than not because
Yeah.
Embiid, I mean, is a decent passer and playmaker. So with that said, I mean, the Orlando Magic, I think it's going to hold because their defense is real and they got enough offense where, um, who is the team I was just thinking of that I don't believe? Um, I'll come up with it. But uh, Orlando, Minnesota, Boston, those defenses are
Yeah.
real and they're here to stay. They're not some early season sample size.
Yeah. So that
Uh,
is sustainable in your eyes.
Absolutely. But like for instance, Milwaukee, I mean, I think their defense is going to get better.
Yeah.
But Chris Middleton not being much of a positive defender anymore is pretty big. And Giannis, I don't think I'm not willing to say he's taken a step back there, but no, I mean, offense in the clutch time situation is where Orlando's got to prove to me that
Yeah.
they are here to stay and
He's gonna take their
sustainable. I mean,
shots.
they still have to put up more points,
Yeah.
but I mean, they're running the show pace wise, and their defense is creating a lot of points for them.
Yeah. And like you said, they're kind of addressing the playmaking from multiple angles, right? Like they're trying different things there. They just got Markel Fultz back in the rotation. Jalen Suggs, he's been kind of a glue guy for them in a sense. You still have Cole Anthony, he's more of a scoring type of point guard. Anthony Black, right? He kind of does all the little things. Joe Ingles, man, that is an interesting one for me as well. That was an interesting addition to their team in the offseason. It was a guy that you saw a little bit in Milwaukee last year, but it didn't show too much, right? You see him in Orlando, you wonder if he has anything at all left in the tank, but he brings a nice veteran presence to this team. And you talk about playmaking, he's a guy that can kind of insert himself in that facet of the game for them at times. Recently saw a 7 assist night for Joe Ingles, a 6 assist night, 7 assists, 6, 5, 4. So he's getting up there. He's getting involved in the rotation, and I think he's been a positive input for their rotation this season as well. But they're a deep team, man. They got a lot of talent that they've stacked up in
To me,
previous
it's Jalen
drafts.
Suggs. It's
He's the
Jalen
guy
Suggs
for
for
you.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's what's really boosting their ceiling for me. I mean, his shots just getting better, up to 37% from three. Everybody else, I feel like I know what I'm getting on a nightly basis. That know their role. It's Jalen Suggs that makes me believe in this team so much more. He's taken a massive leap everywhere, you name it.
yeah,
Um, sure, his assists per game could be a lot higher. I mean, but that's just because they have more talent. And
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah.
I thought this was
You
year
have other
two
guys
for
that can do
Jalen
that.
Suggs. This is year three. Wow.
Yeah,
This is year three. So it is a make or break year for Jalen Suggs. It really is. Was I blanking on that? Um, wow. Okay.
all the shooting percentages are up though, like you said,
No,
37% from three.
I'm very happy with what he's doing
Yeah.
and everything. I just was kind of looking at it from a second year window versus a
So there's a little more urgency there for him to keep this
oh,
thing going, keep this thing moving.
for sure. He can't let
No,
up.
I agree with it. Where do I forget? Where did you have Orlando ranked to start the season, like to make the playoffs, like a 8 seed, a 7 seed, like playing tournament,
I could have
6 seed?
even had him. I could have even had him as the six, but I'm guessing I
Yeah,
had him at the eight. Um,
probably
wasn't
between
anything.
them and like the Pacers or something. I don't know how you
No,
view. I don't remember how you
I
view the
definitely
Pacers.
was Orlando over the Pacers.
Yeah,
But I mean,
for their defensive purposes.
I'd go Pacers now just because of Hallie. Even
Yeah,
though even though I probably believe in a Magic's upside more, I just from what I've seen, it's hard to deny the Pacers off. Like it's like the
the
Kings of last year
offense.
type of thing.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah,
like
they score at a
they're for
ridiculous
sure
rate.
going to be a great regular season team. Where the Magic, I mean, that's still up for debate a little bit because I
It's
just
so
need more.
crazy the difference between those two teams. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just looking at like the points per game stats. Like, Magic at 114 points per game. The Pacers at 128 points per game. The Magic at opponents points per game 110. The Pacers opponents points per game 125. So they're like just complete opposites of each other. It'd be an interesting matchup to see play out, honestly.
8
Which
straight
one of
games.
those teams let me ask you this. Which one of those teams out of the Pacers and Magic, obviously you took the Pacers as of right now. Which one of those teams could potentially upset a higher seed in your eyes? Like, who
The
has a better
Magic.
chance of that in the
The
playoffs?
Magic. So,
The
like,
defense, right?
yeah, if I didn't finish my statement, I believe in the Magic defense being legit, but their offense improving where I don't believe in the Pacers defense improving that much.
But their offense is legit.
And their offense is here to stay, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the Magic will close the gap there. Um, so I could see like and by next year maybe the Magic being a conference finals team with this roster,
Yeah.
competition wise, where the Pacers I don't see them getting out of the first round
Fair enough.
with this roster.
Fair enough. So then we'll take it to the player side of things here in this segment. And who's a specific player you wanted to shine the spotlight on this week around the NBA?
Yeah, so my bias, that's not really a bias, but I gotta give it to him. I mean, Ant went down 2 games ago, and Karl Anthony Towns has been really solid outside of like first 5 games this year.
Yeah.
Uh, but he's just been incredible this year, just as a two-way player, a guy that's understanding that he's the number 2 guy on this team, understanding when to pick his spots. Like, very few players in the league are willing to um, kind of be that great, the main focal point of a franchise, and then just kind of take the back seat and just gradually work it out, and then have a terrible fitting just fit come in, a guy that you've been
Yeah.
competing with for money with Rudy Gobert, with the awards, all NBA teams,
Yeah.
and just I mean battling position wise
Yeah.
for a few years. So it's like there had to be some sort of rivalry a little bit, and they're getting along awesome. I think they're great friends. But their chemistry, finding him on lobs, he's learned a lot from defensively. I mean, best defended field goal percentage in the league. Cat's ranked like 8th or something. Rudy's 5 on there, and then Cat is right after at 42.1%. The last 10 games, Cats had 25, 9, 4 assists, almost 2 steals and blocks combined. Stocks, 67% true shooting. Uh, there's
Mm.
efficiencies all time. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude's been
Absolutely.
absolutely insane. He's taken a leap defensively, whether it's because of um, Jaden and Rudy making him look good, but Cat's had a part of it. He's just moving his feet better. His falls are smarter, even though he still fouled out a few times. Um, I love this guy right now, and a guy we were talking about wanting to trade him before the year, or
Yeah.
when, at what point. Most people said the trade deadline. I'm not willing to not trade him. It'd have to be the best thing ever. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
best Timberwolves franchise history, but I'm not gonna just dump him. I'm not. This guy like is a great dude, and the only reason like it's perfectly said by Jeff Teague. He's the funniest dude. Jeff Teague said the only reason why Karl Anthony Towns doesn't get love is because he changes his voice on podcasts. So fitting, man. The dude's just hilarious. Jeff Teague, go listen
Jeff
to.
Teague is a funny dude, man. He's got to be one of the funniest podcast
It's
hosts out
so
there, man.
true though, man. I mean, and I
Jeez.
like Cat's a people pleaser, and it's just who he is at his core, but he means well. It's just comes off a little fake, you can say at time to time, but his play on the court is not fake, dude. He's got
Absolutely.
the entire game.
No,
It's been
I
fun.
I love you kind of putting the spotlight on him because you sit back from the outside looking in and you wonder, well, Anthony Edwards did just have that scary fall, right? He's not playing right now. And how is this team kind of staying afloat? Not afloat, but at the top of the Western Conference right now. And they're 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 4 straight. And you just look at Cat's numbers, but I think like you kind of insinuated there, it's bigger than the numbers even, right? It's his presence, it's him knowing his role and his leadership development as well within the team. So definitely somebody I'm going to keep my eye on the rest of the season just to see if that can continue, right?
2 lowest defensive ratings on the year, him and Rudy Gobert. Like, yeah, he's a product of Rudy, and
That's
Rudy's going to
crazy.
win Defensive Player of the Year at this rate again, uh, which would be historical. But Cat's had a big part of it, man. It
That's
just
crazy.
sometimes
Yeah.
needs somebody to enable you for sure.
Yeah, no, that is honestly crazy. That's a crazy development because we all know what Cat's supposed weaknesses are supposed to be.
Yeah,
So that's a guy whose market value seems to be going up, right? If you're going to trade him now, it's going to be traded for a nice package given the way he's playing right now. A guy whose market value might be going into the dumpster, Zach Lavine, man. There was a report, I believe it was from Jake Fisher, saying that there's not really any real market for Zach Lavine right now. Obviously the Chicago Bulls, man, they're going nowhere fast. They're 7-14 to start this season. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They have won 2 straight though, to give them a little bit of credit there. But Zach Lavine injured right now. I want to ask you 2 questions regarding Zach Lavine and putting the spotlight on him here. Um, is it fair that his market value, like given his contract, given his production, given his who he is as a player, is it fair the way he's being perceived right now in the open market? Just if there are teams or not that are interested in trading for him.
it's absolutely fair. I mean, you're supposed to be the best player and a leader on this team,
Yeah,
and what are you doing? You're everywhere is declining, and it looks to me like he's been out the door,
he's
like
out. Yeah, he's
it's he
done.
wants out. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like he's taking the I'm kind of out dip, which I don't think his value necessarily needs to drop, but like I don't think his value was ever high, to be honest.
fair enough.
No matter how good you thought he was, and I'm a bigger Zach Levine guy than most.
Yeah,
I'd say there's very few that are higher than him on me. But it's always comes down to the fit. And this year, like I think the team has Caruso back. I don't think I know, and their defense should be better with everybody around them. Like it's disappointing to me. I think everybody should be better. The team should be better, but like it just
yeah,
shows he wants out, and the Bulls. You got to notice this. Like we're
yeah.
almost
You got to
20
get
games
ahead
into
of
the
it.
year. Right. And I do think his value can go down because I mean it was never high to begin with. So I mean
Yeah,
it's dwindling. I mean, um, I think you don't get too picky with it, to be honest. I mean, as long as you're getting 2 first round picks at a minimum, hopefully you get a little more than that.
yeah,
Hopefully you get 2 first for the guy. I mean, it's a
yeah,
hefty contract. Uh, but teams trading for him, it's got to be a good fit. One, I mean, he's a guy that's I mean, I shouldn't say it needs to be proved. Like he was great last year with DeMar DeRozan, and I never have liked the fit. And
yeah,
so the fit, I mean, he's got to want to play that. Okay, that's the fit.
yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure
I think that's a
you
big
talk
thing.
to the guy in his camp. Like, make sure he's cool with trading for going to wherever.
Well,
And
that's what I wanted to ask you because there's been rumors about the Detroit Pistons, the team with one of the worst, if not the worst
I'll
record
be
in
shocked
basketball
if he
right
wants to
now.
go there.
Well, is there like a worse move than for Levine than going to Detroit? Like, why in the world would he all of a
Oh, the
sudden
worst move would be Washington for him.
fair?
Yeah. I mean,
Fair
I
enough.
can't think
Fair
I
enough.
can't think of worse than Washington. That's a tough one.
So
Um,
Washington is worse than Detroit, but Detroit seems to be
yeah,
the
Detroit's.
the prospective team that's maybe interested in him. Should Detroit do that though? Like, do you think that that's
I don't
worth it
think
for
Detroit's a
Detroit?
bad place for him, to be honest.
Yeah,
Call me crazy. Call me crazy. I don't think it's that bad of a place. It's another great coach. Cade Cunningham is doing just fine.
yeah,
Um, depends what I mean. If Jaden Ivey's still there, that'd be insane. But the Bulls should obviously do that because they want
they should
Jaden
want
Ivey.
Jaden Ivey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be
he's got to
the
be in
as
that
good of a
deal.
piece as you're gonna get for Cade. So that's like the dream scenario for the Bulls. But Zach Lavine, man, if he's still young enough where he should want to be able to go out and get his, you know.
Yeah,
Cade's a way better fit for him than DeMar. Um, do
that's
you
true
believe in
too.
the
Yeah,
defense enough where your offense is going to make this team? I mean, the Thompson, Duran, it's up for debate.
it's interesting.
That
Yeah,
defense
the Stars have
might
been pretty
have
good so far.
some pieces, but they just, I mean, they need shooting more than anything in Detroit. You know, their
That's what he
defense
can
isn't
bring.
dead last.
Yeah.
Like they're a top 25 defense. They're not in the bottom five. Uh, it's their offense that just needs to improve drastically, and their defense will improve with their offense because I believe they have decent players for defense on the team right now. But I mean, does Lavine really want to go? That's the million
Right,
dollar question. I
right.
mean, especially if the team wasn't out of the playoff race already, maybe.
Yeah,
Uh, but
yeah. That's kind. I
also
guess that's kind of what I
Detroit
meant.
and
But like you
like,
said, if you just maybe this season, you would throw if Levine gets traded to Detroit, this season's just for him to build that chemistry with Detroit, see what you have there. The next
yeah,
season, you go and you try to make the playoffs. So, uh it's a tough situation for. Do you think? This is my last question, probably the last question of the show. In reality, given the segment's ending here, but if you're a winning team, if you're a contending team right now, should you trade for Zach Levine? Perfect example
I,
is the Philadelphia 76ers. The more that I've seen recently, not going to lie to you, as I saw the season start after the trade of Harden to the Clippers and what we got back for that, um, and the way Tobias was playing, I was a little reluctant to even thinking about it. But given the recent play of Tobias Harris and just the ongoing fashion of him, disappearing at times and then playing out of his mind and then disappearing, um, should a team like the Sixers go out and try to make a move like that and get a guy like Levine, given his contract, though, when you could have complete accessibility to a max slot in the offseason?
it's so hard, man. Listen, I mean, if you want Zach Levine for anybody besides Maxi or Embiid, great. That's fine. I
Let's
understand
do it.
talent. Like I'm always in the camp of get the talent when you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this Sixers team is good enough to win as is. So
Is
uh,
Levine a winning basketball player?
I'm not I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's making you better. I'm like I don't believe in it that much, the move, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I'm almost kind of against it.
No.
But if you can get rid of
Yeah.
Tobias Harris and Zach Levine's what you can get back, that's a dream. That's amazing. Um,
Simple way to put it. Yeah.
I think to me, it depends how many picks the Sixers have to give up and what picks they even have. Like, I'd give up 2 firsts for Zach Levine. Like, it, there's a chance to keep Joel Embiid around, keep him happy, and keep
Yeah.
this thing going. And I think I believe in Nurse that much to worry about the defense
Yeah.
with the fit of him and Maxi. But I do
And I
believe
don't
the
think you don't have to worry about Levine wanting to play with those guys, right? They have the same
no, he would. Oh,
trainer
he'd come there in
with
a
New
heartbeat.
Balance with
Yeah.
Maxi. Yeah.
No, I
So
guarantee
that
Zach
wouldn't be a
Levine would
worry.
love Philadelphia. I would put
Yeah.
big money on that. But it's what's it going to look like for the Sixers long run? Like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could get him pretty cheap. I think they could. So to me, it sure is up high on Zach's board. How high is on Maury's board? I don't think they're going
Yeah.
to do much better than Zach Levine this year. I really
Yeah.
don't, unless it was like Siakam or OG. Um, that's possible
Just
too.
think that's going to cost you a lot more than Zach Levine.
I don't think so,
You don't
man.
think so?
Siakam maybe. Siakam
What
might cost
worries
a lot.
me is just Masai Ujiri dealing with
Yeah,
him and him
right.
needing to win the trade
Yeah, you're not
definitively.
crazy. Nobody's
Yeah.
crazy if you think those guys are worth more than Zach, to be honest, just because the UG
Yeah.
tax.
Yeah, the tax, right? That's it. That's what I'm speaking of there. And maybe not necessarily talent or fit per
Right.
se, but
I mean,
yeah,
like,
it's
I'd
interesting. I
love
think
Zach in New York. That'd be a great spot for
that would
him.
be a
I
great
mean,
fit. Is that one of those situations where you would give up like an RJ Barrett in draft comp for Zach,
I would do everything
or is
I
that
can to keep RJ Barrett, and then
I like
um,
him beside Zach,
you have those.
honestly.
Right, because I love RJ's defense. I really
Yeah,
do. So you got Brunson, Zach in the middle, RJ
that
as
would
your
be
core,
tough.
Mitch Robinson, and then maybe Julius Randle's going out in that deal. That might
Yeah,
be a perfect time to get rid of him. But
cut
even
your
if you
losses
kept,
and add. Yeah,
but Zach to me on that team, if you kept the other starters and Zach just goes in there for Quentin Grimes or whoever, that team to me is almost a conference finals contender.
I would
Um,
agree. Yeah, I think when you add that level of scoring punch, yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
I like it.
there's
New York
teams out
Knicks.
there Zach can make better. Absolutely. There's very few
Yeah,
though. It's like a guarantee. I think New York's a guarantee. But it's you gotta dig to find
tough.
it anywhere else. Like I'd love them in Orlando. I think Orlando would be sick. Um,
That would be a nice fit, man. Give up one of those,
Miami.
give up a Cole Anthony and anything. I don't know, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black,
Go
and
get
some
Jalen
draft comp.
Suggs right now. Sell high on Jalen
Yeah,
Suggs. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
even
literally.
though Zach and Jalen would be tight, the high flying dudes, and
Man, because I'm thinking now Zach Lavine, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, that is just a solid trio foundation right there,
yeah.
man.
And
So
then
he's
the
got some
Zach
options.
Lavine, Paulo connection, Northwest connection. It's just these teams got to be smarter, and they're like Zach Lavine. Who is he? What has he
Yeah,
done? 40 million plus coming right
yeah.
up. Is he the guy that gets me over the top?
And I think like Orlando, it's like from Orlando's standpoint, you got to think to yourself, like if we add Zach Lavine, where is this taking us, right? Like, are we a for real team right now and we just need one more piece or two more pieces? So maybe as the season goes on, they win more games, they can start to view themselves as that team. But still plenty of time until the trade deadline, quite honestly. And I imagine over the next month or so, we'll start hearing more and more regarding what type of movement we're going to see around the league. But just thought it was interesting because it feels like Zach Lavine has kind of gravitated into
Get me out of here.
this Tobias Harris void, man. But nonetheless, man, that is going to end this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. I hope you guys enjoyed the new segment that we will be hosting here weekly. Turn the volume up, put the spotlight on a player of each of ours choice, a team of each of ours choice. But guys, enjoy the in-season tournament play tonight. Should be highly competitive. Got two great matchups. And we will see you next Tuesday around the same time, guys. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you again, Zach. Peace, brother.
Good talking. Peace.